Hello, everyone. I am Chris Kazdick, and you are who?
Craig Graves.
All right, our co-host. Welcome to Through a Therapist's Eyes, where we invite you to see the world through the lens of a real mental health and substance abuse therapist. The goal is to create emotional growth through the medium of a podcast. Please be aware that this is not the delivery of a therapy service really in any way. We do look for feedback and discussion on our website throughatherapisteyes.com. using the blog tab. I think I got a couple of those up, Greg. Looking forward to getting some feedback there.
Nice job. I hope we do soon.
Yeah, man. The human emotional experience. Let's figure this thing out together. I think I left out on episode 4, which we pre-recorded, our sponsoring company. I didn't even mention it that day. We're going to get used to doing the things.
This is true.
Yeah.
We're going to cut you off. We're going to cut off the funds.
A moment for our sponsoring agency, Metrolina Psychotherapy Associates, a psychotherapy agency located in
Belmont, North Carolina.
Serving children, adolescents, adults, and couples. Metrolina was founded in July of 2010. Strive with you towards emotional growth. Check them out at metpsych.com and call 704-461-8253. Episode 3. Yeah, when tragedy strikes, what do you do? And this is an interview with Aaron Clarke. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm okay. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I must admit, I'm a little bit anxious. This has been a show that's been in my head for 3 months for sure, since we had some of these events that we're going to be talking about. So, unlike normal shows, I do want to qualify this one a little bit, Craig, so that people are kind of know what to expect here, because it is a little bit different than our normal shows. We usually go about a half hour. We're going to go about an hour or so, because it is a group discussion, and I want to make sure everyone understands that it is a more of an emotional topic. That if they're like driving in their car, it's a shorter drive. You might want to turn it off, wait till you get home, and you got more time. You might not want to break this one up in between, like do halves, because it is emotional. It has the topic of a child death is primarily what we're going to be talking about, and be sensitive to kids in the car and your own well-being, because this might be kind of hard to listen to, and this might be a difficult one to get through a little bit. I know it is going to be for us. We do have tissues on the table actually today, which is probably going to be a good thing. So just wanted to make sure, and I don't know, did I qualify that good enough, Craig? Anything else for people to think about?
I think you did good.
So yeah, what to do, man, when tragedy strikes? It is a good question to have, because we're all going to come across crazy things that go on in our life, and we want to talk about it. We want to talk about it. I actually have a client quote. This is an active person I'm talking about. I want to make sure I make a very clear point about this. We haven't talked about it in the show, Craig, I don't think yet, but I want to be very, very sensitive to my responsibilities as a therapist to confidentiality and the incredible honor and trust people place on me when we're talking. I will not be sharing specific personal examples of anybody ever on this show. And I want everyone to really be aware of that, because I'm really ethical in what I want to do and how I want to go about that. If I ever do, as I'm about to, I will have direct personal permission from the person if I'm ever kind of quoting anybody or anything like that, which will be a rare event, but it's very, very important to me that people understand out there. Whenever I do make a comment, it may be intended, to make a point in future episodes and whatever. It's going to be very broad stroked. I am never in my brain going to be talking about any specific person. Be very careful about that. So I wanted to qualify that though, because for the first time in our recordings, I do have a guy said something. We were talking about this episode. Told him I'd credit him as CH. A shout out to CH, man. Hope you're doing well today. He had real thoughts after a tragic death of his wife early in life. He quoted as saying, "We have made dying complicated." I thought that was an interesting quote. And he goes on to explain, the natural process of dying and the process of moving on with life. He said, you don't get to grieve on your own pace, given the business matters. I mean, banks and government and regulations and purchases for stuff and insurance and all this stuff, etc. There's so many things. Yeah, Aaron, you're shaking your head like, holy cow. His quote, "We have made dying complicated with all this stuff," and it doesn't help. It doesn't help healing and recovering and and dealing with all of that as he's gone through. So, he suggested in some of his thoughts, setting your pace, recovery, healing. Unfortunately, in some of these business ways and some of these worldly matters, you're not, we don't allow that because it's so complicated. So it's important that we take that back when we're, figuring out what do you do when tragedy strikes. And look what he kind of goes on and says, hey, it drags you backwards in having to deal with the process of dying and hold you back in a lot of cases. Yeah, so like I said, we want to take that back. We want to make sure that we're carrying our own pace on things. I guess all these qualifiers, right? Another qualifier I want to make sure that we do let people know. We thought long and hard about doing this, Aaron, didn't we?
We did.
It wasn't something that I was so sheepish when I asked you originally, man. I was like, man, I don't know. I have this idea. I think I know you well. I've known you for how long?
I think we 15.
We had that conversation probably about 2 months back, didn't we?
We had it was a good conversation though.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and I thought, man, I don't want to bring something like that up, but I know you. Which one of the greatest things I admire about you is your vocal, your verbal. You share your honest.
That's how Cody lives on.
It is.
That's for me, anyways.
It is, and so I want to make sure that the public knows, man. This is pretty raw. This is pretty fresh. This has not been very long at all. It's only been 3 months now, if I'm correct.
Almost 3 months.
Yeah.
Next
quite.
week.
Next week will be is 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah. So I want to say off the get-go, man, I respect your courage. I respect your genuineness. I respect what you're doing. We talked about it. The point is to really do a good service for anybody who might be listening, because I know we had a conversation not too long ago, and you found you're not alone. Yeah. There's a lot of people that have experienced this type of thing kind of as well, and we want to be able to put discussion out there and put awareness out there so people don't feel alone when they're going through something crazy like this. So how you feeling?
How am I feeling?
Yeah.
It's. I mean, you are alone. I mean, that's one of the biggest things. Is. I mean, I don't know if I was telling you or someone else, but we are we're just a shell. We're just there. I mean, we don't function really as. I mean, we're together and we do things as a family, but I mean, we're just a shell. I mean, our life is destroyed, and all we do is constantly think about them. But it's rough because we're short with each other. Mm-hmm. It's not. Just. I don't know. It's hard to say. It just sucks.
Yeah, right.
It really does. And I mean, and nobody does. I mean, nobody until you go through it. It's even when you do go through it. When you're talking to people that do go through it, they don't know. I mean, people grieve differently. But I tell you, I mean, in the way it happened, it was. I'm gonna go through this.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't know. I don't want to.
Yeah, we'll tell a story. We'll tell a story. I have a way of kind of going into what we're going to do. I think it'll be a fun way to, an easier way to kind of get into it. But yeah, we need to tell a story of what happened. Are you able to do that? Are you interested in doing that?
Yeah. Oh, I love talking about Cody. I mean, that gets me through my faith, and that gets me through it. And I love hearing people talk about Cody. People asking questions, and it's funny because, and we may go over this if we do. I apologize, but I'm going to talk about it now.
Oh, do what you got to do, man.
The one biggest thing is, that we feel alone because, right when this happened, probably for 6 weeks, it was great. People would come over and, just talk to you how, Cody and all that kind of stuff. But after that 6 weeks, it's dropped off. I mean, nobody, very select people, a few people will call and check on him, but most people, they don't care. I mean, they've moved on with their life, and which leaves us, my wife Michelle and our son Zachary, to really just function. And it's like nobody cares anymore.
Well, we were talking about that as we were shooting some golf balls the other day.
Oh, that's right.
I'm glad you went to that point. It's one of the things we really need to help people understand. It was really refreshing to hear you talk about that you enjoy people talking. I think people are afraid. They're like, oh, I don't want to bring up a sore topic. I don't want to make it worse. I don't want to make them feel awkward. It's like this big freaking eggshell walk people do. And it was really cool to hear you. And that's the first thing you went to, so people
but it's
can
like
understand it's okay.
Like, man, when you talk about him, it's like you care.
Yeah, Cody.
Man, I tell you what, and it's funny because my face lights up when you talk about Cody. And I mean, and all of us, Michelle and Zachary, but a lot of times people, I think people just don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's included, family or and anything. It's just, whether they don't know what to say or they just, people, let's just talk about Cody. Because he's there.
So along with this part of our topic, yeah, man, I've about a year ago, really rather fresh in my work as a therapist, I kind of have figured out what that really means. You just said a buzzword that goes off in my head because I hear this a lot, and I've never really dialed into it like several months ago. Honestly, it's rather fresh. I don't know what to say. You know what that means to me now? When I hear people say that, what that means to me is not I don't know what to say. It's I don't want to say the things I'm thinking because I'm uncomfortable with it, or I don't know, I don't know how it's going to make the other person feel or whatnot. People know what to say. It's just that they're the insecurities and the fear and the discomfort, the awkwardness, all of that.
Thinking you're going to upset the person
blocks you from saying what you want to say. Yeah. So you just said a buzzword.
But we love it, man. I tell you what, when people talk about Cody or ask about him, it's just, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things.
And I could tell you, Aaron, I do think people do care. I think they care very much. Although, sadly, it could appear like they don't because they're feeling so awkward, crazy.
So I may have used it wrong. Yeah, not that they don't care, but they get the image that
it appears
that they
appears, yeah. So let's tell a story, man. What happened? What I thought I'd do with getting into this, the details a little bit of what the heck happened. It's your story, but I was involved because I've known him for a long time. So I thought I'd kind of go into where I broke into it.
Okay.
Because it was like, is that all right with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't remember what day of the week it was.
It was a Monday.
It was a Monday.
It was a Monday.
It was a Monday afternoon. So
June 4th.
June 4th, 2019.
18. That day will always live.
Yeah.
With us.
I almost don't want to remember that day because that anniversaries are, they make me emotional. That's just my personal thing. But so June 4th, 2018 on a Monday.
11:45 a.m.
I am coming home from work. And, we have a big day, right? It's a big day. My son is 16 years old. And shout out to Aaron. That's the first time I shouted out to my kid, right, right, Craig?
It is.
And, we had a weird, neat thing where he had bought his own vehicle. And so we were going down the road to where eventually, no, he was already working. And we went to surprise his mom. A couple of days before she was out of town. So we went and made arrangements, and he got himself a whatever year, 2004, 2005 limited Grand Jeep Cherokee. Proud he did it with his own money. It was kind of neat. So he's there, and he's like, he's ready to surprise his mom. So we drive up to this thing, and boom, here's this car, and it's like, okay, well, that worked. And we're driving home. They were all going to drive home. He was driving his mom home and his brother home, and so I'm driving, by myself. And about 5 minutes into the drive home, I get this text phone buzzes out. Like, I forget exactly what it said, man. That sucks because it was like, there was a part to that story that I'm going to fail. My memory is going to fail me, but it was weird because I got a text from you, and it was crazy, weird text of some sort. And anyway, I remember texting you back thinking, hey, man, I think you got a bug on your phone because it came out weird and something. And then I remember those words that you texted back. It's like, call me immediately. Call me immediately. I thought, oh, shit, Aaron doesn't talk like that. So I called you, and you were with a group of people I know and understand now. And I got you on phone, and you had told me that Cody is fighting for his life. I'll never forget those. Never forget. And so I jumped and continued down the road and took a left instead of a right. Ran down to Levine's Children's Hospital in Charlotte, which, shout out to those guys, man. They do an amazing work down there. Your day started a little bit earlier on the way to school.
Yeah, mine. Well, where it started for me is we met with him. That was his awards day, and so Michelle and myself, we went to Southwest Middle, where I think he got like six or seven awards, and he was fine. He was acting fine. He was smiling. He came up and was just talking to us after the thing, and I mean, no clue. And we took pictures, and I actually got a picture on the last picture we have of him on that day.
Cody being Cody.
Cody being Cody. On my phone, I think it's my lock screen, I think. And so we had pictures and all that of smiling and all that. And then 2.5 hours later, Michelle got the phone call that he was throwing up. So Michelle called me and said, "Hey, can you go pick up Cody? He's throwing up." And I'm like, "Really? I mean, we just saw him 2.5 hours ago." But we were thinking, it must be, they were having a party or something, and he ate something bad. They didn't agree with him. I'm like, because I don't deal good with the throwing up thing. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go pick him up. So I went down and changed, and by the time I was walking out to my car, Michelle called me back and said, they're taking him to the hospital. Unless I can get there quick enough. And I'm like, well, I can't. I mean, I'm up in Charlotte. I got to go all the way down to Gastonia. It's going to be 15, 20 minutes before we get down there. Which at that time, we still weren't putting, I wasn't thinking of the severity that it was. So then we go ahead and, let's see. Then I'm like, all right, well, at that time, they were taking him. I was a little nervous, but wasn't, it didn't dawn on me that we'd have the outcome that we had. So I'm like, all right. So then Michelle, I'm like, all right, we'll just find out where they're taking him. Because, Caramount is not part of insurance.
Right.
And so I was just like, find out. I mean, take them wherever they need to go, but just find out where they're taking them. And I figured it was going to be Caramount, and it was. So she called me back, and she said, I'm heading down there too. But it's, I can't exactly remember the whole wording, but to the effect that, it looks like it's pretty serious.
Right.
So we're all right. So we fly down there. I call my parents, tell them that they're taking Cody to the hospital by the ambulance. So we go ahead and we get down to.
Is that where your alarm bells started ringing?
No, it didn't. No, because I didn't know how bad it was. I didn't know. Gotcha. We didn't know that they did the CPR and all that at the church at the school until later.
Right.
So I'm like, all right. So I was a little nervous.
Right.
But it didn't even think it was as bad as it was.
Sort of like the feeling of a broken arm, or he's
hurt or something like that.
Oh, man, yeah.
So I get down there. Michelle's already at the hospital. 20 minutes later, I get there. And she's already checked in, and she said that, they'll come get us. He hasn't come to the hospital yet. At that time, I was thinking, oh, man, I mean, just it was taking him so long because, I mean, that's 5 minutes down the road, southwest, 10 minutes maybe. And we're, half an hour. And then we get this, the chaplain. He comes to see us, and at that time I knew something more was wrong because we didn't hear anything from anything. But the chaplain came to get us, and they brought us back to a room, and then I knew something was there because I'm thinking, why would they bring a chaplain if something wasn't serious?
Right.
So at that time, a buddy of mine, pastor friend of mine from Bethlehem Church, Steve Black, I know he's a chaplain at Claremont. So I called him, but he's like, because I wanted somebody I knew to be there. And he's like, no, brother, I can't come. I'm up at Maine, making rounds or whatever he's doing. So I called Dickie Spargo. He didn't pick up, left him a message. Sent a lot of people, pastor friend, hey, can anybody,
reaching out.
At this time, the meantime, the chaplain was kept coming back and just saying, I don't have anything yet. They were here. They came, but they're running all kinds of tests, and that's all he would tell us. They're running all kinds.
Before or after the life flight?
This is before. This is at Claremont.
Yeah.
So they're just. He came back 3 or 4 times and just kept saying, they're running tests. They're running tests. This time, we still did not know that he was unresponsive. I just said, can we go back? And and they're like, no, we're still running tests. We don't know, what's going on. But the doctors are working on him, and we're like, okay. So at the same time, and then I finally get in touch with a pastor friend of mine from Christ United Methodist Church, Christ Church, Matt, and I just said, if you're free, we need you to come down, and he's like, yeah, I can be there. He's like, I think he had his kids or something with him, so he had to find somebody to watch them.
It's in the middle of a work week,
It's in the middle of a work week, and so he eventually came, but the whole time it was, that was just, Michelle was, upset. I think she probably put a couple holes in the walls at the room. She was banging on the wall. Because they didn't tell us, but when they bring a chaplain to tell you, it's not good.
Right.
So then eventually they come back, and they probably after half an hour, 45 minutes we've been there, they finally bring us back to they bring us to the ER, their trauma room, I guess you would call it. It's a big room,
right?
To talk to the doctor, and they really opened up the curtain and shut it. That's how much we got to see him,
right?
And they still didn't tell us that they did CPR on him. We didn't find that out until later on in the evening.
So, Aaron, you don't mind me interrupting? Yeah. He was unresponsive at the school?
Yep. Okay, so we'll go back to that. So, what happened so he went from throwing up, then he had a really big, massive headache, and we found out through different people, different kids, that I think that he had such a bad headache that he covered his ears and was telling people, he's like, I think I'm dying.
Right.
And that's, because, especially with Michelle, because, Michelle can't be there. None of us could, but as a mom, that's really tough. So that's hard for Michelle to think, because she's like, I couldn't be, I wasn't there. Well, none of us were there when he went through all this pain. Even though it was short-lived, he went through a lot of pain. So what happened is he went from throwing up to the bad headache, to then going unresponsive. And then at the same time, the police, I think it was like, whatever the code is for hurry up, tell them to, because the fire truck got there within, 5 minutes. But the ambulance, I think, were farther away, so they were, relaying the message. You got to get here quick.
And of course, this is, what grade is he in? So we're talking about
7th.
Middle school.
Yeah, middle school.
School with a lot of kids around,
and so he, so basically, he went unresponsive and we found out later the reason why they took so long is because they did CPR on him at school. It was in the ambulance at school. It took him 5 minutes to get his heart back up, or not back up, to get him to where they can, take him to the hospital. They needed both the driver and the paramedic back in the back to get him stabilized before the driver can get back in the front and drive the thing. So then, we talked to Matt, our pastor friend Matt. He came down, and at the same time, while we were waiting for him, they came back and said, "Hey, you can come back and see him." So we went back to the doctor. He just a real, quick opening the curtain. We couldn't see anything. I don't know if Michelle saw anything, but I didn't see anything. I just saw him there.
Well, I know talking to Michelle later on in the story, she was very clear. She's like, man, we haven't seen Cody at that time later on. Like, we got to touch his toe.
Yeah,
that was essentially what we're talking about through this whole morning.
A
glance, a curtain, a toe touch, and that's it.
Yeah,
we're about 2-3 hours in now, right?
But we're about 2.5 hours into it, and it was a whole. So he came out. They brought us the ER guy said to us, okay, we asked him quite a couple questions, and Michelle was more into the asking the medical questions,
right,
than I was, and
she's in the field.
It didn't make sense to her, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So then we said, can we see him? And they told us, well, the light flight, they're going to fly him up the Levines. And they asked if we had a ride. And at that time, we said, we'll have, we're hoping that Pastor Matt would be able to drive us, because none of us were in any condition to drive. So we go out there, and they're like, well, can we see him? And they said, you can see him for briefly when life flight takes him. They brought us to, I guess it was the hallway outside the ER where they when they have to ship him out through helicopter, they wheeled him by, and we got to see him 5 seconds. I mean, the whole, and he didn't. You could tell it was.
That must have been super it was crazy scary.
It was. We knew it was. Never did we think that we were going to lose him, but we knew that.
And let's be clear. So he's alive at this time. He's they're working on him, and now they life flight him, and and you kind of journey on down to Levine's, where you're it's a children's hospital for the audience there. It might not be around the Charlotte area. It's a children's hospital that is an excellent hospital treating a lot of kids, and you kind of journey your way down in there, and you're kind of in the little room that I met you in for 2, 3, 4 hours, just kind of keep on dripping by, right?
Yeah. So they tell us they're going to transport him to the ER. So Matt drives us all the way up there. We go into the ER, and then they tell us no, they just took him straight to pick you in Levine's, pick you, the pediatric intensive care unit. So
let me jump in that to where I kind of came. That's about the time a little bit later on, right?
You came in
where you had texted and you finally got a hold of me, and I remember coming in. You might not know this part actually, Aaron, but I came in and immediately my head is in like, okay, what needs to happen? What's going on? Holy cow, like. And I kind of got in with you guys, and there were people kind of starting to leave. The room wasn't that full because the room was stacked full of people most of the time, I think, is what impression I got.
Yeah,
dude, you guys had told me, like, Michelle saw it in her eyes. She was just like, dude, we have not seen this kid.
Yeah.
We haven't seen Cody. And I'm like, what do you mean you haven't seen nothing?
Nothing.
So, dude, I jumped out the room, and I looked around, and I mean, the first dude I saw with a badge on, I grabbed him, and I said, listen, man, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. We need to get, they need to see their kid, man. Can you go find out what's happening? What's going on? And he went in, and that's when that beautiful nurse started to get involved. And he came, and the chaplain came, and that was one of the times that, because I know you were saying, like, that every time the door opens, it's kind of like, are they coming in to tell us that he's died?
Mm-hmm.
And then the nurse started interacting, and you started getting a little bit of information, and that was a long evening.
So if I can interject and ask a question, do you know at this point what the magnitude of the situation is, Aaron? I mean, you guys saw him at awards day. You got a couple calls. He was throwing up and had a headache. The next thing you know, you're at the hospital and he's being transported to Levine's. It doesn't sound like you're getting a lot of information.
No, we didn't know how serious it was at that time.
Did you know anything? Did they tell you?
No, we didn't know anything until well, we knew. So we were out in the waiting room where Chris met us. But we were out there for a while, and then we still haven't seen him, and we haven't, and we were getting aggravated because I remember saying, we've been here forever. But it seemed forever.
Obviously,
it was a long time.
Yeah,
not knowing anything. We got to go. They said, "Well, you can come see him." They told us that they were going to have to take him. They were going to take him down to a CAT scan. A CAT scan. But we can go back and see him. We got to see him again for another 1 second. I mean, really, I got to kiss him on the forehead or cheek or somewhere, and Michelle the same thing, I believe. But that was it. And then they took him down to get a CAT scan, and then they rushed him right into surgery. And then we knew that they did tell us that they were going to take him into surgery. And it was, they said, oh, he'll be, I mean, I used to work in the operating room as a surgical tech. So, it was going on, I think, an hour and a half. They told us the surgery, that's how long the surgery would be.
So you have some insight on what that means and what's going on.
Well, then it was like an hour and 45 minutes, nothing. 2 hours, nothing. 2 hours and nothing. And then finally 2 hours, 2.5 hours, they came in and told us. They were just brief and said the surgeon will come in and speak to us. So, he's still in the operating room. And we're like, okay, at least that's something. And then a couple minutes later, I don't know if you were there at that time.
Yeah, I think so.
That the surgeon came in and told us what had happened, and he told us it was arterial venous malformation, or an AVM. And basically what that is the blood supply in the brain. You can get them really anywhere, but for Cody, his was at the base of the brain, and the blood vessels do not form, so you're born with it, and it just basically exploded. And then it just kind of bottomed out, basically went stroked all the way out from back to forward.
Yeah.
And he said, for 2.5 hours it was living hell for him. All he was doing is he would cauterize one blood vessel, another one would open up. He'd cauterize that, another one would open up. I think they said that he went through 9 or 10 pints of blood.
Wow.
To save him. And it was, he just said it was awful, the worst he's ever done. And that's when we knew how bad it was, because he told us, listen, if he's living 2 days from now, he'd be surprised.
Right.
So
let's just pause for a second. I mean, when that dawns on you, like, you're sitting there now with this clear knowledge and having been told, I mean, what goes through your head?
I think it was shock more than anything. I mean, at that time, because you're being told that, and I don't know if you didn't want to believe it or what, but it was just really, at that particular moment in time, it was okay. Just kind of, just really being there for Zachary and Michelle, and it was really went through my mind. I kind of think about it, but I don't know if you believed it or not. You know what I'm saying? It's that, okay. Maybe shock, I guess, would be the word, because I knew it's like, all right, well, we gotta, because Zachary was in there with us when they told us that. So, I'm like, okay, so we have to just go into, I guess, husband and dad mode, kind of, okay, take care of them, make sure they're good. And and at this time we still didn't get to see him. I mean, he's like, yeah, he'll be up in an hour, and it was still another, I think, hour and a half to 2 hours before we got to see him. But
I think I stand corrected actually because I remember when I got there, you had gotten that news. I got there about an hour after that, probably it sounds like.
But it was just, I mean, it's just like, okay. But I had hope. I had hope. That that he was, and to find out, is that we're told that basically he passed away. I mean, he was gone at school, or he was definitely gone before he got to Levine's.
Right.
Somewhere in that thing, he passed, and they did CPR on the guy. I don't know if I told you this. They did CPR on again at Claremont, so he had CPR done twice. But because and we were told that early on because we still had hope. But to find out that, I mean, and the only reason why we're told, if it was an older person, they probably wouldn't have done the surgery. But because he was a 13-year-old boy, they had to give him as much, a chance to live, as possible.
Yeah, and there was a lot of hope. I mean, I remember, leaving shoot probably about 1 o'clock in the morning, and we left, with a lot of prayer and a lot of hope and a lot of belief.
I think I was texting you still. I was still texting you
through the night. Yeah,
through the night.
Yeah.
It was just. I mean, that was rough. That would, he.
But I don't know if we can fast forward to the end. Might be a good way to transition because I mean the sad reality was we were texting through the night, and I did get some sleep. I think I shut her down about 3 o'clock or 4 or something like that, and got a couple hours sleep. And I remember the first thing I did was reach for my phone, and it was another text I'll never forget. That he didn't make it. It was all you text.
Yeah, he that was on the 6th at 12:30 in the morning. Because on the 5th they ran. This happened on the 4th. 5th they ran all the tests. I mean, we knew it. I mean, they told us. He wasn't doing any of the signs that anybody that was living showed. But you have to, legal reasons, they have to run all the tests.
Right.
But they told us pretty much he was gone. But they officially announced it 12:30 in the morning on June 6th, which was a Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's when it really set in. I think when they officially announced it, even though in my eyes he passed in the 4th.
Well, there's a finality of the formal denouncement, clarity.
So, and then we waited because then he donated his organs.
Yeah, because the story doesn't end there.
No, it keeps going.
It doesn't end there, and gosh, man, we had a lot of hashtags thrown around. Cody lives, Cody flies high, Cody strong. And one I was throwing at you is hashtag we walk together.
We walk together. Yep.
DJ Swagger, hashtag DJ Swagger.
I think there was 6 or 7 of them.
Hashtag Clarke Strong. We'll have those on the website because, yeah, you had a long 2, 3, 4 days that you'd stayed in the hospital while they transitioned and the story continued because of the nature of his illness and the events. The decision kind of came. What do we do? What do we do? Right.
Well, it did, but it was just for a brief week because we knew Cody would want to donate his organs. And they took his heart. No, not his heart. They couldn't take his heart because of the CPR and the damage that was done by that. But they took lungs, both kidneys, liver, and heart valves.
So talk a little bit about that part of the story. I mean, how you're coping with the decisions that now you've got a formal clarity about your son, age 7th grader son has died, and all the complicated business of dying kicks in, and you have to go through, processing. What do we do? How do we decide these? How do you come to these? How do you have these conversations? How do you decide the decisions that you need to decide on?
Very quickly. I mean, really, because
Right.
by the time he passed away, I mean, the organ thing was a really quick thing because we knew that he'd want to donate his organs. But we had help with getting the funeral, the cemetery. I mean, all that was done. We had a lot of help with Pastor Dickie Spargo of Bethlehem Church, Benny Benson of Benson Funeral Home out of Mount Holly, and then my sister and brother-in-law and my brother and his fiance and my parents. I mean, they all really stepped in because and doing all this at the same time, we haven't had sleep since Sunday night. I mean, you get 5 minutes here. I mean, actually, the whole time I don't think we slept at all. Maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes the whole time. And Cody Muma, sorry, he's the youth pastor. He was also involved in it. But they all stepped up and they helped us out, which that was awesome. They were all amazing.
Yeah.
You get home on Friday morning from them taking his organs, and Krisha Keller, she works at the hospital. She was there Friday morning at 3 o'clock in the morning. Dickie Spargo was there, Pastor Dickie, at 3:45 in the morning, and Cody Muma. They all showed up to be there when they took Cody down to the operating room. So that was pretty amazing. But you get after all that happens, and all these things, they need time to get all this stuff. So they really stepped up and they really handled it for us. I mean, they did it all. They came to us with, how do we want to do it? Do we want this? Do we want that? But they really handled it and did it all, and then just came for us. I mean, I remember he passed away on Wednesday. Thing happened on Monday. He passed away on Wednesday. They took his organs on Friday. We get home Friday morning, I think around 8 o'clock, me and Michelle. It was the first time we've been home all week.
Yeah.
Zachary hasn't been home. He was staying with my brother up there, and they did great taking care of him. And then you get home, and it was just me and Michelle. That was the first time we went into the house without Cody, and that was tough. I mean, because we left, Monday morning, we haven't been home, and, his breakfast dish was on the counter. His lemonade thing was still there.
All the impossible little reminders, right?
I'm like, oh, man, it just, just walking, his bike and everything. I mean, he just left it all.
What would you like for people to realize, as you're going through this harrowing, a lot of people would say unimaginable, of course, the name of the show, tragedy, right? Of epic proportions that not a lot of people can really understand, but how can you talk a little bit about what you've been doing to cope? How did you, people are going to ask, right? Like, what did you do? How did you get through it? What would you tell people that are in similar situations? How do you get through? And I've got some things that we talked about that, to help you remember. But what would you tell people? How do you cope?
It's an everyday thing. I mean, there's not a sec. I go out and I talk to him a lot. I mean, I'll walk outside and look up in the sky and say, hey, Cody, and tell him about our day. But it's a struggle. It's, our family is not the same. It's shattered. I mean, really. I mean, it's miserable. You're in the house, you see his pictures and everything like that. But how do we cope? We just, I don't know. I mean, it's.
Well, let me refresh you with some of your words. I don't remember when we talked. This was, but it was probably pretty raw and early on. But I admire you in watching in the way that you have moved and acted and coped and gotten through. I don't know if you're aware of it, but you've been very active in doing these things. when we spoke, feel free to comment any of these things that come to mind. Every day is a blessing, is what you said.
Yep. And it is. I'll go back real quick on that. Is this whole thing happened on Monday at 9:30. He was fine as can be, got his awards and everything like that, and 2.5 hours later he was pretty much gone. So and didn't even know. So it just goes to show, hey, don't take life for granted because you never know.
Aaron, that's the second one on the list.
When your time is up. I mean, you just never know. So I mean, it's interesting because now. And it's tough because we're all human beings, but the pettiness stuff, I try not to let that bother me. How something happen at work or whatever.
You said don't sweat the small stuff, the small petty stuff.
Yeah, because I mean there's more important things, and why am I getting caught up in all that? So
you said tell loved ones they're loved.
Yep. And it's funny because you know what, I do and I don't, which I need to do a better job of because I always say that, but I just think you get so caught up in life that I mean, I just don't. I mean, and you should.
It gets busy.
It gets busy, and I always, especially now, I'm like, gosh, I gotta tell. I still tell Michelle I love her all the time, and I tell Zachary, I love him all that, but I don't beyond that. Very rarely do I, I think I sent you a text a couple days ago, something like that, and just told you, I love you or whatever. But I mean, even that, I just, you don't, and that's something that I need to.
We need to recall, these things that we're going through, your words, they say you grow the most when you hurt the most. I like the line. I think I've said it. You do grow with these things, but you have to regrow with it. You have to retouch with it, and you have to re-up and re-energize with some of these things. They're not automatic, but we do grow a lot when you're hurting a lot. Lean on true friends. Some of your words.
Yep.
Don't get trapped by the tragedy.
Yes, and that's it's, you can ask Michelle, and we talked about this the other day. As it goes on, it gets worse. You miss them more. And I think it's because now it's settling in, right. But you realize that the hell is not over, and it's just getting worse, and right. And we're back to that. I mean, and I think also it has to do with, like I mentioned earlier, that people go after that 6 weeks. People just, not that, like you said, not that they don't care. It's just they get on with their busy lives and
we keep moving.
And it's just like really basically me, Michelle, and Zachary.
Your words were move and grow. You grow the most when you hurt the most. We said that one already. It could change in 1 minute. So it's a reality. I wrote down here, reality strikes when tragedy hits, and you get to be in touch with some of these thoughts that you've had when we were talking that you shared. I mean, that's reality.
Yeah.
Again, all in review. Every day is a blessing. Don't take life for granted. Tell loved ones they're loved. Don't sweat the small petty stuff. Lean on true friends. Don't get trapped by the tragedy. Move and grow. You grow the most when you hurt the most. It could change in a minute. Those were about 3 weeks in after all of this that you were talking about.
We still talk about it.
So I had some things that I added in my mind, and in talking with people that have gone through tragedies, that have gone through losses, that have gone through really tough spots. Let life stop if it needs to. That actually came from the nurse, to be honest with you. That came in and started talking to your family and stuff at Levine's. Yeah, I thought that's not something I've said to a client ever, but I think that's something to add.
What was that again?
Let life stop if it needs to. Just let life stop. Because the world crashed and stopped that day, and she gave you permission. She was like, it's okay.
I think you said something earlier in the beginning, on when that guy was talking about that. He's saying that death is complicated, I think.
Yeah.
And to that aspect is, here Cody, just passed away. But I mean, you're supposed to function. I mean, life does go on, and you don't have that time to grieve because I know my job. He told me to take as much of that, but I know people that can't take all that time off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I went back to work after 2 weeks, and same with Michelle. But I know after talking to people, within a week they had to be back at work. So I mean, you don't have that time to grieve.
Yeah,
And that's a challenge because
let life stop if it needs to. I learned that from
I
that
agree,
nurse.
but I mean, life goes on, and I guess
But you do continue grieving, of course, and it's important. You're right. People that go through tragedies kind of feel like, because the world keeps on going, I'm supposed to just feel right. Nah, man, this is months and months and months of progress and moving back and forward and slipping back and and the anniversaries. That's a year, So it is. You're in the middle of it, man.
We just had a big, this happened in June, pretty much, and we just had one of our biggest things is going back to school, which was yesterday.
New
Monday.
Process, new steps.
Because Cody always walked Zachary out to the bus stop, so that wasn't going to happen this year. The school shop, the supply shop, and all that.
Puts a freaking lump in my throat, man.
So that happened. I mean, we just got back from our the beginning of August. We took that yearly vacation that we always went down to St. Simon's Island.
I know we talked about that one a lot,
and we were undecided because I wasn't sure if I wanted to go because I thought it would be too soon. But Zachary, he wanted to go, so we went. But that was tough because it's not. We did the same thing we always do, to the beach.
And there's probably some routine that's comforting. Life is still life, and you kind of do go back to work and go to the vacation spot and do all of that, but it's routine. It's comforting for some people. I'm just saying, but it's never the same.
It was comforting. Well, it was in a way for Michelle because she's like, I didn't have to have the daily looking at his pictures, looking at his bedroom because all that stuff is in the house and still there. So we haven't touched his bedroom or anything, but when Michelle was on vacation, she didn't have to. That wasn't a constant reminder.
You get out of it.
For me, I didn't like it because we go to St. Simon's Suites every day, and that was something that Cody loved doing, and all the shops that he liked to go to. So that was I wasn't a big fan of that, but
one small step at a time. Things need to be broken down into simple things. Using self-care, even if it doesn't seem interesting. We talked about that in an episode before. Counseling is a real helpful thing. Don't allow yourself to be alone, but alone time in doses is very okay if that's helpful to you. Pray to your Creator. He's always there. Religion is a support for you, which
it is very big. We're very big, and we pray. I pray. I know Michelle's having a little bit more of a difficult time doing that because of the fact is she says if he's so good, then why did he take our Cody away?
Anger, absolutely.
So she's doing that. But I tell you what, he's talked to me numerous times, and Cody has, and I think I've told you the time that he talked to me.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's there with us. I mean, but it's still
create rituals and carry them out. Re-engage life when you feel ready and able. Right?
That's the funny thing is I don't know, man. There's parts of me that, like I said, we're just really, just a walking shell. We just do the thing and don't do anything else. And there are parts of me that, sometimes I feel like, I don't feel like doing anything, hanging out with anybody or talking to anybody. I just want to,
Yeah, like
it's a struggle. It's a struggle for me to get out there and do things.
Don't allow yourself to be alone, but allow alone time in doses if that's helpful to you. I mean, it's really, people are unique, and some people really create. I know we talked about that with you guys. You were like, oh my God. Matter of fact, I thought adorable Michelle. I love you, Michelle, by the way. She's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. He wants people around all the time, every moment, every day. Like, I got to have some quiet time.
We're totally opposite. I love to have people over, and she loves the quietness. But I mean,
and that's okay. I mean, that's okay. People need to know, I think, that, we feel like there's supposed to be the right way we go about doing something, or, coping in in the correct way. And there is no right way, correct time frame. I wrote writing things down is a good thing to do. Let feelings come, let them go. They do go away, but they do come back.
Michelle likes to go to the cemetery and write things down.
Yeah.
She'll go sit by his grave, and she's got a journal that she writes.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I tell you, I want to compliment you, Aaron, in a lot of ways, because you've done a lot of these things. I'll just read through them real quick for the audience. Right, let life stop if it needs to. One small step at a time. Break things down. Use self-care, even if it doesn't seem interesting or fun. Counseling can be a really helpful thing. Don't allow yourself to be alone, but allow alone time in doses if that's helpful. Pray to your Creator. He's always there. Create rituals and carry them out. Re-engage life when you feel ready and able. Write things down. Let feelings come and go. They do go, especially when they're shared. Dude, I don't know if you realize it, but from afar as I sit, you've done a lot of these things that you need to do to cope and to get through. You've created a garden of of plants. You've go to the gravesite. You've written things down. You're doing this show, like, high compliments, and I just admire you in so many ways.
It's tough though. I mean, it's awful. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
it's just one of. I mean, it's just I mean, it's just he's missed so much. And
Every day.
every minute of every day, not just by me, but when I mean us, it's Michelle. I know people miss them, but I'm talking about Michelle and Zach. I mean, we just constantly, we got to be strong there for Zachary.
And how old is Zachary?
10.
Zachary's a 10-year-old younger brother, and Craig, we did talk, Aaron and I, about maybe kind of following this story a little bit, following you guys, and maybe you had the idea, Aaron, of doing some more shows, and maybe even getting Zachary to talk about this for him, because there's a lot of things that we can only cover in a short period of time, and people, I'm sure, have questions. How do you help a 10-year-old go through this? What do you do as a husband? What do you do as a wife? How is it different from a mother to a father? There's different things, and I want to invite you back, because I think there's more that we can talk to if you're willing and interested.
Oh yeah, I love talking about Cody.
How would you summarize for people, if you were to try to summarize in 2, 3, 4 sentences for people when they've experienced something, given all that we've kind of talked about? How would you what would you do to kind of crystallize that?
Of what I'm doing?
Yeah, what you're doing, how to cope, how have you got through to this point? How would you crystallize that?
For me, it's God. My faith has gotten me through this. I know that Cody's up in heaven, and we'll meet him.
I can't wait.
We'll meet him. It's going to be an awesome time. I mean, he's talked to me, and that's my biggest thing is his faith. Faith has gotten me through this. And then also, Michelle and Zachary, being there for them. The support that we have. I know I keep saying that it's like a shell that, we're just there, but I mean, we are there for each other. And that gets me through.
Well, your courage is commendable and amazing to be on here and, to share your story, to share your feelings and emotions, to share Cody.
Cody lives on.
Hashtag
Cody lives on.
There's some things that I told you we wanted to do in honor for you and to bring the awareness out on things. I know that AVM is one thing that is important to you that you want people to be aware of and understand. Do you have any comments about AVM?
Well, it's,
sort of AVM awareness.
It's, I don't know. there are things, but I just can't think of anything right now.
Okay, that's cool. Well, I want to take over, and I know you're humble with things and not wanting to let people know, what you need and what's going on. But I did tell you I wanted to make a point of talking for a moment. I won't share anything, but you can share as you're willing and able. The complications do occur, and I know that folks stepped up, believe in the church, and created a GoFundMe account. And we had a conversation, and again, I'm going to respect that. You can say what you want, but I'm not going to say anything. But the complicated aspects of life are real, and the finances are a part of that. And, there is a GoFundMe account that I want to put an awareness out for people, because I think that that's a needed reality. It can get really ugly and, real rough real quick. I mean, those are some of the complicated realities of life: hospital bills and life flights and all of that stuff. And I want people to know that it's okay to help. It's okay to ask. And the GoFundMe account is still active. Is that a correct statement?
It is correct.
All right. And how would they find that? Is it correct to say it's typing in your name?
We can put a link to that in the show notes on our website too, through therapisteyes.com.
AARONCLARKE. Michelle, I got it right. That E's a tough little tricky E, man.
All these things. She'd always be like, you cannot. We've known him for 15 years and still can't get my last name right.
I know. But I really do want to point people over there to the GoFundMe account. I think that you had almost reached your goal. I don't know how goals are created on that, but frankly, Aaron, I want to maybe over the course of the next 4, 5, 6 months, double that up. Because I know that's a reality of life, and I know you might not want to talk about that, but I wanted to take the leap. I did ask everybody in the audience. I did ask his permission to do that, by the way. And then we also really want to highlight in Cody's honor, hashtag Cody lives on.
Fly high, Cody.
So tell us about the foundation, man.
Man, this is the foundation. I'm telling you that we're doing. It actually was named by Zachary, and we're going to call it the Fly High Cody Foundation. And Cody's legacy is going to live on, and it's already doing that now through stuff that we have going on right now.
Organ donation.
But, Cody was very big. I mean, with High Five Sports at Bethlehem Church, Cody really brought, we went to High Five for Cody to play sports, and through that brought, by going there, brought me and Michelle to Christ. I became, went to school to become a pastor and all that. So Cody, started that whole thing. He didn't start High Five. He just got the ball rolling in our lives.
Right. We probably ought to make that point.
But we got that going. So we're gonna, the money that we get, we're gonna do things that Cody loved to do. And
through the foundation. Giving back to the needy. And right now we're actually doing we're working on the foundation, so we can't do it through the foundation yet because all the stuff has been, submitted, so we're just waiting to hear back. Most of it has. But we are doing a teddy bear drive through High Five, and for the whole month of for the whole season of soccer. And all those teddy bears that we collect will be given to the Levine's Pediatric Intensive Care Unit, where and they took care of Cody. They did an amazing job. We didn't want the outcome that we got, but when we were there, they were amazing. I just believe in taking action, and I think that helps people, cope. It helps people get through the realities of getting through, the terrible emotions that do come and go. You've been so brave to share those things, and it's not a pretty sight, but taking action, that helps you get through, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, all this stuff. All this stuff. Anything that really has to do with Cody, it gets me going.
Cody.
when I talk about Cody, I smile. He just, he's with us, and it's just amazing. I love it. I can talk about Cody all day long, and I know Chris is probably like, "Let's go, we're out of time."
Hey, we can go as long.
But I love talking about Cody, and I love talking about you too, Zachary. And you too, Michelle. But I mean, I just, I love my family, and Cody's still part of it. He's still a son. He's just not with us physically, but he's with us spiritual. And when we go places, we say, "Hey, we got three physical bodies and one spiritual body."
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for sharing, Aaron, your family's story and the experience of going through a tragedy. We do want to follow the story. We want to follow you. Of course, I'm available to text with you anytime, 3 a.m. if need be, for sure. We want to help people that are having common experiences, and you're not alone. # we walk together.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate the opportunity, and I would love to come back anytime you want me to come back and talk about Cody. I know Michelle is going to come hopefully sometime. I don't know when.
We'll see what we can do.
To give a mom's perspective, and then Zachary to give a brother's perspective. Yeah. I know they'll be later in the year. They're not ready right yet, but
one positive trait, I'll put you on the spot, that makes you smile when you think of Cody.
He's got a great dad.
I'll second that.
All right, man. Craig, how are they going to find us? What are they going to do with these buttons pushing and social media things? And
you can find us on throughitherapisteyes.com. We have links to our social media profiles on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all those places on the site. There's also an email sign up. If you hadn't signed up there, we'd appreciate you doing that. Help us keep in touch with you. And if you're enjoying our show, you can subscribe and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, and that'll help other people find us out there too when they search.
Aaron Clarke, your brother. You're a good man.
Thank you,
Aaron.
Thanks for listening, guys.